same thing that attracts me as an actor. If I respond intuitively to it and it's moving to me, then I'll try to get involved. And this was, you know, with Nenad's very humble, but it's a very personal story for him. And to listen to him talk about it, it was really impossible for us not to want to be involved. From the moment we heard about this all the way through. I mean, it was a very hard production for the people who were day to day on it, for Sarah, for Drew, for Nenad, for Eric, for all of these people who were like grinding and grinding in the edit. For me, I would get these cuts, and each cut I would watch was better than the last cut, and it just kept getting better and better, and it was exactly what he said he was going to do. We would get on the phone and talk for an hour or two, and really, he was using me as a sounding board at that point. It's like, you know, you get so close to a movie. Terrence Malick would call it getting snowblind, where you know you're so deep in the edit, it's very hard to see what you're. And so a lot of times he'd just ask me questions, or I'd ask him, like, he'd say, "Are you getting this in this section?" And I'd say, "Yeah, but let me quickly get this other little section and tell me this is what I'm going for. Am I?" And I'd say, "Yeah, you're." You know, and then I'd say what he didn't want to hear, which is, "Okay, keep going." So they really had to grind and grind and grind, and it was but I'm just very proud to be associated with this. It's a beautiful movie, and it was just to meet everybody today for the first time. I've been looking at them on screen for a long time, and even the raw interviews. I was telling Ines back there that just his raw interview that I saw before it got cut together. I mean, it was an incredibly moving experience, kind of watching, listening to them talk about what they lived through, and so for us it was really, once we heard this story for Pearl Street, we just wanted to facilitate. That was really our only role, and that's really all we were there to do. That's a kind of a meta question. Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. Look, I mean, we all work hard at these jobs, and we couldn't do them without the support systems that we have. That we have various support systems that we all have. For me, I have a great family, so that would be those are the people behind me. But look, this movie had a lot of producers because it required a lot of producers. It required a lot from a lot of producers, actually, and so I can turn that question over to Sarah as well, and to Drew.
No, Sarah.
Yeah, Drew's behind me.
And Alan Maloney and Jennifer Pitcher from the U2 team. Yeah. And Blake Levin and Kevin Iwashima from this season, and Graham Taylor.
Hello, from YouTube.
I mean, I think one of the things that is very difficult as a filmmaker is to realize a vision, because there's so many variables and agendas. And the thing that was so special with this team was, you know if you're working with Drew and Matt that you're going to be protected. You know they have the experience. You know that you're going to be able to bring your vision to life in a way that you have few opportunities in life. And then, Drew helped me bring on Sarah, and Bill helped us bring on Paprika. And so there became this building of a family, of a team of collaboration where each one of us was, it was very difficult to make this movie because of the stories was carrying it on.
Well, that would be up to Mr. Zelensky. Obviously, we've watched, as everyone has, with horror, the events that have unfolded there in the last year, and I did get a chance to meet his wife in New York during the UN General Assembly, yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of wonderful films are being made about it now. I'm sure there will be many more made going forward. We don't have anything on right now, any doc that we're doing. I actually do have somebody over there researching one, but it's in its early stages.
I'd say that not only on behalf of me and friends around me, but on behalf of citizens of Sarajevo, first of all, I would like to thank all producers and persons who are behind producers. Mr. Matt Damon, Mr. Ben Affleck, also the members of the band, U2, and Drew, Sarah, Nenad, Bill, to recognize Sarajevo, to recognize our story, not only as a moment of history, but also an issue, a topic which is, I think, very essential for global political situation today. And when you watch the movie, you will see that everything what happened in Sarajevo 30 years ago under the siege is so deeply and so strongly connected with the events that are happening today. By recognizing this, you guys just make confirmation, just make proof that all what we have done, all of these guys, then was somehow on the right side of the civilization. Thank you very much for that. Speaking about my personal experience, I would say that for me it was very painful, very emotional, and it was some kind of a process of healing. I would say that most of us who survived the siege of Sarajevo, we have some kind of feeling that is called post-traumatic stress disorder. To be honest, in certain level, I also sometimes experience this kind of state of mind. And this is why the most of us refuse to talk about siege. We absolutely didn't talk about the siege, maybe even not talk with our children or people around us. And when Bill and Nenad asked me to be a researcher for this documentary, for me it was very demanding, not only in a practical way how to make my big research and how to form the team of researchers, but also how to set things with myself, with my personal memories, with my personal experience. And slowly, as the story has been grown, it was somehow obvious that my story, my life story, my love story would also be and will also be involved in a movie. And this is a moment where everything changed to me, because from the shoes of researcher, I have to come into the shoes of a witness. So not to be objective anymore, but to be really honest in terms what were my experiences and what I felt during the siege. I should say very personally that I was in love. So the early days of war and early days of the siege was the days of my biggest ever love to that man. So when people ask me, how did you survive the first day of the siege? I said, I was in love, and this day was some kind of clash between the most elevating feelings that a woman can have and the most brutal horror of the siege, of destruction. And this is how most of us in Sarajevo, how we felt. Because all of us, we got our families, we got our friends, we got our lives. You know, you want to live, you are a young person, you want to listen to music, you want to listen to YouTube, you want to make rock and roll, you want to make love, everything. And suddenly, a siege happened. It is something that we can, for example, we can make connection with the Berlin in 1961, when over the night, the barrier between East and West Berlin emerged. This is how it happened in Sarajevo. So suddenly, all of your dreams, all of your life was in risk to be destroyed. And this is why I say the process of making this movie, for me personally, and for all of us, was also a healing process. So thank you very much, guys.
That was a difficult conversation we had asking her to be in the movie.
Yes.
Because she was a researcher to a production company, and I asked her one day, we have to tell your story.
Yeah. So this is the story. Thank you.